Batman Forever from 1995. This one was suggested by a friend of mine, the Speculating Nerd on Twitter. That's at Speculating Nerd. Give him a follow. He's a good dude. He writes a lot of cool fiction, especially in the fantasy genre. It's great stuff. Check him out. And he actually suggested several Batman movies for me to do. And my first instinct was to go for Batman and Robin. But then I thought, that's just low-hanging fruit, isn't it? But I'll probably get to it eventually. And I've already done Batman Returns, so I guess the next step would be Batman Forever. Although, I already have done a very short video on Batman Forever. It's the Batman scene. It was one of the first videos I ever did. But now I want to talk about the whole movie. Because it's really something. Gets a bit of a pass, I think, because Batman and Robin exists. And if that movie didn't happen, I think Batman Forever would be a little bit more scrutinized. It would be the focus of some more ridicule. Either way, it's going to be today's focus of ridicule. And I'm sure, as everyone knows, it's directed by Joel Schumacher, starring Val Kilmer, Jim Carrey, Tommy Lee Jones, Chris O'Donnell, and Nicole Kidman, as you can see. The movie starts with some big box office credits that fly at the screen, just like Superman. I mean, this came out, 17 years after that movie? And they're still doing it for superhero movies. Kind of amazing. And we get a montage of Batman suiting up. The cod piece is on full display. And a lot of people think that the bat nipples started and ended with Batman and Robin, but Batman Forever did it first. Joel Schumacher loved that shit. And somehow everyone around him allowed him to do it twice. 2 bat nipple movies in a row. The 90s were wild. The costume designer says that he wanted the batsuit to be reminiscent of armor worn by ancient Roman centurions. I mean, okay. I guess we should just be glad that he didn't want it to resemble ancient Celtic warriors, because that would mean Batman's running around with his dick and balls out. And we get a first look at the new Batmobile, and it is fucking horrendous. I think this is one of the worst Batmobiles I think that's ever been made. It looks like a fucking bug zapper on wheels. And then this scene happens.
Can I persuade you to take a sandwich with you, sir?
I'll get drive-through.
So, already we're starting with the jokes. And it's beyond cringe. Batman beyond cringe. And he's heading out to stop Two-Face, who is in the middle of robbing a bank. And he's taking hostages. So I guess it's not a very efficient bank robbery. And this is where we meet Dr. Chase Meridian, who is some kind of psychoanalyst. Commissioner Gordon asked her to be here. And she's horny. I'm not kidding. Her whole persona is that she's horny. Batman shows up, he comes swinging in, all dramatic, and her very first line of the movie is hot entrance. She exists only to be horny, and all of her scenes are with either Bruce Wayne or Batman. And then she makes the mistake of saying Batman dresses like a flying rodent.
Bats aren't rodents, Dr. Meridian.
Really? I didn't know that. You are interesting. And call me Chase. By the way, do you have a first name, or do I just call you Bats?
So that's how he does his disappearing act. No crazy gadgets, no ninja athleticism. He just kind of walks away when no one's looking. Brilliant. So he goes to stop Two-Face, and we get a hilarious fight scene where he electrocutes some goon, and he starts making noises like Donald Duck when he gets pissed off. And then he goes to rescue the hostage, but they're trapped inside of a bank vault. suspended from a helicopter which is carrying Two-Face. And then this happens.
Oh no! It's boiling acid!
Boiling acid. Has the acid actually been cooked to a boil? Or does he mean that it will feel like it's boiling if you touch it because it's acid? Boiling acid just seems redundant, is what I'm saying. Whatever. This guy is such a nerd. Every time he says something, it's like, oh no! Anyway, Batman gets out of the vault, and then Two-Face's reaction is really something. So, he's obviously very upset about the whole thing. And Batman somehow manages to send the bank vault swinging back into the building safely, with the hostage still hanging on the outside of it for dear life. Seems like he just kind of relied on this guy to save his own life at that point. He did nothing to protect him. And Batman makes his way onto the helicopter, and he takes out some of Two-Face's goons. And Two-Face puts the club steering wheel lock on the helicopter controls before parachuting away. I'm not making this up. How 90s is this movie? Well, I'll say it again. Two-Face uses a club steering wheel lock on a fucking helicopter. That's how 90s it is. And Batman cannot do anything to circumvent the club. So he is forced to jump out of the helicopter just as it crashes into the Statue of Liberty. So apparently the Statue of Liberty is in Gotham City, except it was also in Metropolis in the Superman movies. So what the fuck is going on here? Does every major city in the DC universe have a Statue of Liberty? I don't know, but I think it's a fair question. And I don't know what the Statue of Liberty is made out of in Gotham City, but the helicopter blade rips it to shreds. I guess they really cheaped out on the Gotham City version of the Statue of Liberty. I don't know. Oh man, that was just the opening scene of the movie. We're just getting started. Then we jump to a scene of the city landscape, and it's horrible CGI. I mean, what kind of Sega Saturn graphics are these? It's ridiculous. I know it's the early stages of CGI, but maybe don't use it if it looks like this. And Bruce Wayne is doing some kind of inspection at Wayne Enterprises, and he runs into Edward Nigma, who is clearly an insane person. He tries to sell Bruce Wayne on his new invention, a device that manipulates brainwaves and can beam TV signals directly into the brain. And Bruce just isn't interested in it. And because of this mild rejection, Edward loses his mind.
You were supposed to understand. I'll make you understand.
And he decides to take it out on his boss. He uses his new invention on him, and he discovers that it can make him smarter. So he's kind of like a brain vampire when he uses it on someone else. Just sucks the brains out of them and puts it into him, I guess. And in the meantime, Bruce sees the bat signal, and he goes up to his office. He says lock, and the door locks behind him. He sits in his chair, and he says chair, and the floor opens up and sends him down a weird slide, which apparently takes him all the way back to the fucking Batcave, which is just insanity. But what's with the voice-activated things? I hope he doesn't happen to say chair while he's in a meeting or something. Otherwise, he'll go flying down this fucking luge pipeline all the way back to his house. And how the fuck did he make this? Because he didn't do it himself. He's got a pipeline that goes from the top floor of his building all the way to the Batcave. This doesn't raise any eyebrows. How did he make it? Did he hire some fucking Teamsters to build 10 miles of pipe? Yeah, Bruce Wayne hired us to put a manhole under his desk chair. I don't know. I don't ask questions. It leads all the way to his house. It was a big job. Whatever. The money's good. You know? It doesn't make any sense how this is even here. But whatever. It's a cartoon. And he goes to the bat signal. And he discovers that Chase Meridian is the one who turned it on. She says that she called Batman because she noticed something about Two-Face's coin, but never really explains further, because the real reason she called Batman was because, you guessed it, she's horny. And she wants to bang Batman. And Batman says, it's the car, right? Chicks love the car, which is hilarious. It's just hilarious to hear Batman say something like that. Chicks. These fucking chicks, they love the Bat car. They'll fucking love it. It's just such an un-Batman thing to say. And it's a especially weird thing for him to say because she hasn't even seen the car yet. And even if she did, she probably wouldn't think it was that great. Like I said, it looks like a bug zapper. And she continues being super turned on. I don't know. I don't think Batman has ever been in this situation before. I mean, he has as Bruce Wayne, obviously. But what does he do when someone is this desperate to fuck him as Batman? He's probably thinking, how would this even work? Do I leave the cowl on? I got the fucking cape on, this fucking utility belt. This shit doesn't come off easy. It's not even worth it. I mean, this broad is nuts. And just when it seems like he's about to go for it, Commissioner Gordon shows up. He comes running in his fucking pajamas. And naturally, that's a bit of a cockblock for them, so Batman leaves. And then we jump to a scene where Bruce Wayne is watching some old news footage of Sal Maroni throwing acid at Harvey Dent, which is what turns him into Two-Face. Which is pretty accurate. That's how it happens in the comics. So that's good to see. Anybody who is a fan of The Dark Knight might think that the Joker had something to do with it. But no. And apparently the only thing that stopped him from becoming One-Face, or No-Face, was a little tiny manila folder which protected the healthy side of his face from the acid. So I guess that's pretty strong stuff, that folder. And Batman was apparently sitting in the courtroom this whole time because he leaps into action trying to help Harvey, which is fucking bizarre. Batman just sitting in a courtroom in broad daylight, waiting for something bad to happen, which does happen, and he's still unable to stop it. So I guess that's why Harvey Dent is mad at Batman, because he wasn't able to stop it. I don't know. And Batman gets a couple of riddles from Edward, who has now become the Riddler, obviously. And he solves them pretty easily because they're kind of childish. And he takes them to see Chase Meridian to ask her advice about the kind of person who might have written them, which is wonderfully convenient because now he has an opportunity to get to know her as his alter ego, Bruce Wayne, the man who can fuck without being hindered by any bat-themed accoutrements. And she says the writer of the riddles may suffer from obsessional syndrome with potential homicidal tendencies. So she got all of that from a couple of cornball riddles. Oh, she's good. She is good. And Bruce Wayne decides to take this opportunity to ask Chase out.
Listen, I'd love to stay here chatting, but
Would you? I'm not so sure.
I've really got to get you out of those clothes
Excuse me?
and into a black dress. Tell me, Doctor, do you like the circus?
Yikes. The circus on a first date. That seems kind of weird. And then while they're on the first date at the circus, he asks her on a second date. He says he's going rock climbing next week, and he asks her to come along. What the fuck kind of dates are these? The circus, rock climbing. I guess he's hoping to catch Two-Face before the end of next week, because it's wildly irresponsible of him to just go away on a rock climbing expedition. Well, Gotham is in peril. But the conversation is about to become even more weird because Chase says she can't go rock climbing next week because she's met someone. She's referring to Batman. So I have so many questions. So she's holding out for a guy in a bat costume, obviously not realizing that she's sitting right next to him right now. But if that's the case, why did she agree to go on this original date? Why is she out with Bruce Wayne right now if she's holding out for some whack job in a bat costume? It's fucking mental. And she's supposed to be like a psychotherapist. She needs psychotherapy. Anyway, this is where the Flying Graysons are introduced. They're performing at the circus. And Two-Face shows up and he hijacks the show. And he threatens to blow up the circus. And this circus must be a big fucking deal because it's televised. Like it's the Super Bowl. And everyone who matters is there. The mayor is there. Commissioner Gordon is there. And obviously Bruce Wayne is there. At the fucking circus. Big fucking deal. And Dick Grayson decides to take care of the bomb. He struggles to get rid of it. Some days you just can't get rid of a bomb. But he does. And unfortunately, his parents and his brother are killed as Two-Face escapes. So that's a pretty big departure from the comics. This whole movie is a pretty big departure. But Two-Face didn't kill Dick Grayson's family. They just shoehorned that in here because they wanted to have Robin. And Bruce Wayne decides to take Dick Grayson in as his ward, despite the fact that he is clearly a 55-year-old man. I exaggerate, but he's at least 25. He rides a motorcycle, for Christ's sake. This dude is not a child. Except he is. Because they say if he doesn't stay with Bruce Wayne, social services is going to get involved. Social services. For a 30-year-old. I don't know. Just fucking wacky. And Two-Face is at his house or his lair. I don't know where the fuck he is, but he's crying about the fact that he keeps failing to kill Batman. And he has two girlfriends because, he's Two-Face, so everything is two. And one of them is Drew Barrymore for some reason. She's playing the good girlfriend. The other one is the evil girlfriend. It's over the top. And somehow, the Riddler just shows up. So the Riddler can find Two-Face's house, but Batman can't. And he explains that his brainwave contraption is how he found Two-Face. But how? How does that work? He doesn't go into any details beyond that. And he tests the thing out on Two-Face's girlfriends. He uses it to have a look at their brainwaves, and I guess they just watch Bugs Bunny cartoons in their heads. What the fuck is going on here? It's fucking insane. But Two-Face loves it. He says it's fucking brilliant. And I don't know what that means or why it's so impressive or what possible advantage it could give them, but Two-Face is all in. He says, let's team up and get Batman. What a sales pitch by the Riddler. And then Dick Grayson does his laundry. And when I say does his laundry, I mean he beats the shit out of it. He's using all kinds of martial arts on his wet clothes, kicking the shit out of it, getting water everywhere. He hangs everything up on a wire to dry. I guess this billionaire doesn't have a fucking dryer in his house. Or maybe he does, and Dick Grayson is just being a douchebag. I think the latter is more likely. And somehow Edward Nigma becomes a mogul. He's managed to mass produce this fucking device, and he has sold it to just about every person in Gotham in about a week.
You patented it and packaged it and slapped it on a plastic lunchbox, and now you're selling it. You want to sell it. Well...
And he keeps calling it a box. Except it's not a box. It's a fucking lava lamp with wings on it. I don't know what the fuck it is, but it's not a box. And in the meantime, Dick Grayson discovers the Batcave, and he steals the Batmobile. He fucks around, and he wants to become Batman's sidekick. And I guess Bruce Wayne is going to think it over while he goes to a party. I guess it's some kind of gala for Edward's newest box, which is obviously not a box. And he's being interviewed by this lady. Might be my favorite character in the whole movie, by the way. I mean, just listen to this.
Edward, how does it feel to be the city's newest, most eligible bachelor? Gotham must know. Oh, there's Bruce Wayne! Brucey! Over here, Wayne!
Okay, so she says Edward is Gotham's most eligible bachelor, even though he's clearly with someone right now. I know it's all for show, but Drew Barrymore is standing right there. And then she turns around and immediately loses her shit over Bruce Wayne. Oh, it's Bruce Wayne. I love it. Give this lady her own movie. Let's see what her origin story is. And this is Bob Kane's wife, by the way, the man who takes all the credit for creating Batman. So make of that what you will. And during the festivities, Bruce tries to get a closer look at Edward's box. His brainwave box. And naturally, it scans his brainwaves. Oops. And then Two-Face shows up with a bunch of bad guys. Bruce Wayne sneaks out the back and quickly changes into Batman. And this is where the Batman ass scene happens. Not going to go over that again. Check out my video on it if you like. And he starts beating up bad guys. And Chase Meridian gives him a kiss that says, "My place, midnight." I mean, holy shit. Get a mop. She's too fucking horny. Anyway, Two-Face escapes again, and Batman goes to see Chase at midnight, as she requested. And out of nowhere, she rejects him. You see, now she's into Bruce Wayne. This bitch has her head so far up her own ass. It's incredible. She doesn't know whether she's coming or going. Even though the rest of us can clearly see that she's coming. That's obviously what's happening. And Batman likes this whole idea because, as I said, it's a lot easier to fuck as Bruce Wayne than it is as Batman. The cape gets in the way. It's a whole disaster. But it actually turns out that the cape isn't going to be a factor because Bruce Wayne is hanging it up for good. He doesn't really explain why, and it doesn't make much sense. Two-Face and the Riddler are still out there on the loose, but he seems to want to stop Dick Grayson from pursuing any kind of revenge against Two-Face, which I don't know how retiring does that, but okay. And of course, it's all a moot point because the Riddler and Two-Face are celebrating the fact that they've just discovered that Bruce Wayne is Batman. So he's got nowhere to hide. And of course, they show up and trash his place. Two-Face starts flipping his coin to see if Bruce Wayne lives or dies. And he keeps doing it until he gets the desired outcome, which seems decidedly un-Two-Face-like, if you ask me. Also seems weird that he's undecided. I mean, the whole point of doing this was so that he could whack Batman forever. Eh? Get it? Batman forever? Anyway, he finally gets the desired result from the coin flip, and he's about to kill Bruce Wayne. But the Riddler stops him. Why? I don't fucking know. He says if you kill him, he won't learn nothing. Which is a pretty good line, I guess, but what's the point of this if they weren't going to kill him? Makes no sense. And they take Chase Meridian captive, and they're going to use her as bait to catch Batman. Even though they just had Batman. He was dead to rights. We're in Silly Town right now, and there's no going back. And they destroyed the Batcave, but despite that, Batman still has access to one Batsuit, and it's the exact Batsuit he's going to need for this mission. So, that's convenient. And the Batmobile is destroyed, but he still has access to the Batplane and the Batboat, which is perfect, because the Riddler is on an island, so the Batmobile would be useless anyway. It all worked out perfectly. And Dick Grayson shows up in his new Robin outfit, and they're ready to take on Two-Face. And the Riddler, obviously. How exciting. And they reach the island, and then this fucking scene happens.
Holy rusted metal, Batman! Huh? You're ground, it's all metal, it's full of holes, you know? Holy!
Oh.
The best thing about that is Val Kilmer. Because Robin's like, holy rusted metal, Batman. And Batman's like, huh? And he's like, the ground, it's all metal and holy. He's like, oh. It's just like, what? Was that even Val Kilmer? I don't even know. That might have just been some fucking dubbing job by some fucking sound guy doing it. I don't even know. But that was fucking awesome. Anyway, Two-Face captures Robin, and I guess the Riddler has scanned both of their brains, the Robin and Chase, because he knows all about them. He says Robin is an acrobat turned orphan, likes Saturday morning cartoons, and dreams of one day being naked with a girl. So this 47-year-old man, this Ward, hasn't gotten laid yet. And of course, Batman has to choose which one to save. Reminds me a lot of the scene at the end of Spider-Man where the Green Goblin drops Mary Jane at the same time as a bunch of kids. And naturally, Batman destroys the Edward Nigma machine, brain machine, and he manages to save both Robin and Chase, despite the fact that it was deemed impossible to do both at the same time. But he's Batman, so, whatever. And he also kills Two-Face, which is hilarious because Batman has spent the entire movie trying to convince Robin to not kill Two-Face. I mean, what a fucking hypocrite. And the Riddler survives. He looks all fucked up. I don't know what the fuck happened to him. Why does he suddenly look like Eric Stoltz in Mask? I don't know what the fuck is going on there. And he says to Batman, why can't I kill you? Which is the dumbest fucking thing anyone could have said in this situation. Because he has had multiple opportunities to kill Batman. So many chances. And he just decided not to. And I would give this movie so much more credit if Batman, in that moment, just said to him, listen, motherfucker, you've had so many chances to kill me. You just decided not to, because despite having increased your intellect by a factor of 100, you still have shit for brains. But instead of that, he says some dumb shit, and the Riddler ends up in Arkham Asylum under the care of Odo from Star Trek Deep Space Nine. And look at this look that he is sporting. I think it's really working for him. The Einstein hairdo, the gigantic fucking bow tie, the spectacles. I love it. And it turns out that the Riddler thinks he's Batman. So Bruce's secret is conveniently safe. And he shares a kiss with Chase. She's still horny as fuck. There's no going back. And basically that's how the movie ends. The credits roll, and you get to hear U2's Hold Me. And I'm not a U2 fan, but I don't think you have to be to know that that's got to be their worst song. You hear this, and you'll think, well, they could not have become a successful band if this is the best they have to offer. No way. And that song is followed by Kiss from a Rose by Seal. I don't know what happened in the 80s and 90s, but action movies always ended, or almost always ended, with some kind of bizarre love song. It makes no sense. I think James Bond started it, and other movies just started doing it too. And this movie came out 27 years ago. It just turned 27 years old. Came out in June of 1995. So I was still a few months away from turning 11 years old. And this movie was a big fucking deal. Came out, I went to see it with some friends. I think I might have seen it a couple times. And we had a great time. And I just thought, this is it. Movies will never get better than this. This is all it's ever going to be. This is all I ever wanted from a superhero movie when I was not quite 11 years old. I played the tie-in video game for Sega Genesis. It was trash, but it looked cool for the time. Life was good in the summer of '95 for young Eddie Stake. But obviously, looking back on it with some jaded adult eyes, this movie is, it's kind of dog shit. Let's be honest. It's kind of fun, but it's not great. And who are we kidding? I mean, it's a campy mess. I think Val Kilmer is actually pretty good as Batman. I think with a better story, he actually would have been pretty great. It's the first time we see a Batman who is actually super intelligent. Like, he seems smart. But everyone else is kind of questionable. I mean, Tommy Lee Jones seems like he's just trying to match Jim Carrey's wackiness, and it becomes exhausting. It's obnoxious. Every time Jim Carrey has a line, Tommy Lee Jones is just in the background, punctuating it with some goofy snicker. Like, heh, hoo-hoo. He just says this dumb shit all the time when he doesn't have a line. Because I guess he's afraid everyone would forget about him next to Jim Carrey. And maybe he was right about that. And of course, Nicole Kidman's character is just too horny to exist. And if this is supposed to be the Tim Burton universe, or a continuation of it, where's Vicky Vale? Where's Selena Kyle? They were better characters. And why is it called Batman Forever? Is it just because he stopped being Batman for 5 minutes and then basically said, nah, I'm going to be Batman forever? Or did someone ask a Warner Brothers executive, hey, how long do you think you guys are going to make Batman movies? And he said,
Forever. Forever. Forever.
And then it's as if he just said, hey, that's a good title for a movie. I don't know. But despite all the flaws of this movie, I really wish Batman could be a little bit more like this again. It doesn't have to be as campy or as ridiculous as this, but I would like to see Batman become fun again. He's just not fun anymore. That last Batman movie was just uninteresting to me. It was like watching an emotionless robot run around as Batman. And I'd like to see Batman have a little bit more personality again. And I know the fanboys flip out when you say things like that.
He's a dark creature of the night.
He's a jackass!
I just don't think it should be taken so deathly serious. Other superheroes have tragic origin stories. Why does Batman have to be the only one who is so fucking grim? I'd like to see something more like Kevin Conroy's Batman. Can we try that again? I don't know. I'd also like to see him in the blue and gray costume in live action. I know they'll never do that, but to me, that's the best Batman costume there is. That's what I think of when I think of Batman. Just my opinion, obviously. Anyway, I've yapped long enough. Thanks again to the speculating nerd for the suggestion. I appreciate it. Sorry it took so long for me to actually do it. I'm also sorry that this video is so long. Holy shit, it's over 30 minutes. Thanks to anyone who has actually stuck around this long to actually hear the end of it. I appreciate it. And yeah, that's all I got for now. Until next time, take it easy.